Welcome back. A leading counter-terrorism investigator says white supremacists pose the greatest terror threat in the world today. Former FBI agent Ali Soufan was an important figure in the fight against Al-Qaeda after 9/11, before turning his focus to far-right extremists.
He says that, much like Islamic terror groups, white supremacists have built an international network with foreign fighters travelling to Ukraine to train. Mike Wesley-Smith reports.
It was the day New Zealand changed forever. The day a terrorist attacked 2 Christchurch mosques, murdering 50 people and injuring dozens more. The pain and the personal acts of bravery are a vivid reminder for former FBI agent Ali Soufan of the day his country was attacked and he was thrust into the front line.
I worked with the FBI for about a decade, tracking down terrorists, organizations and disrupting plots.
As a lead investigator into 9/11, the US Department of Defense labelled Ali, quote, an important weapon in the war on terror. Now he has a different target: white supremacists.
We have to recognize it's a global threat, very similar to the jihadis, from the way they use social media, the way they promote hate, the way they advocate violence in order to create anarchy.
Examples of white supremacist violence have been seen across the world in the last decade. It includes in 2011 in Norway, where 77 people were killed; in the United States in 2015, where 9 died in Charleston.
There's several people down at this time.
2017 in Charlottesville, 1 dead. In Pittsburgh in 2018, 11 dead. Now Christchurch is added to that list.
This evil ideology of white supremacy did not strike us first, yet it struck us hardest.
We see today white nationalism as a rising threat around the world.
I don't really. I think it's a small group of people that have very, very serious problems.
Unfortunately, this is not the first time that we see the President of the United States contradicting facts and creating his own truth.
Ali says that for too long, the threat posed by the far right has not been a priority.
We're not collecting on these kind of groups, and I think we need to change that.
There are already serious questions about how the Christchurch gunman slipped past our intelligence services.
They have prevented harmful activities in this country. They do that. But this didn't happen in Christchurch, in the Muslim community, and we need to know why.
Unfortunately, in the world of counter-terrorism, you have to be successful 100% of the times. The bad guys, the terrorists, has to be successful only once.
The government has moved quickly, announcing an inquiry into the Christchurch attacks, one welcomed by the SIS Director General, Rebecca Kitteridge, who said, over the last 9 months, NZSIS has increased its effort to obtain a better picture of the threat posed to New Zealand by far-right extremist groups. The NZSIS has over recent years received a number of tips from the public concerning right-wing extremism and has taken each one seriously.
We need to make sure that we are looking more broadly at the work of our agencies, not just our intelligence services, police, at our borders, to ensure that we've taken a comprehensive approach and do everything we can to prevent any kind of activity or action like this in the future.
Ali Soufan says intelligence agencies need to look closely at the international influence of far-right groups currently fighting in the Ukraine.
We've seen many groups, even here in the United States, who travel to the Ukraine in order to train on military tactics and further radicalize, and came back home to create violent activities in order to recruit more members.
In November last year, the FBI indicted several white supremacists who allegedly travelled to the Ukraine to be radicalised and trained by far-right militia.
There is a new phenomena of foreign fighters who are not Islamists, who did not go to Syria or Iraq or to Afghanistan. They went to Ukraine and they came back, and they are white supremacists and they mean business.
While the Christchurch gunman claims he visited Ukraine, experts say that's not confirmed and should be treated with great scepticism. Police say they're making inquiries in New Zealand and internationally, but won't go into detail. Violent white supremacist groups have been a problem in New Zealand in recent decades.
The Fourth Reich were an incredibly violent gang. Again, just in the South Island, largely in Christchurch, and some notorious crimes were committed by them, fiercely violent.
Gang expert Dr. Jared Gilbert has researched skinhead gang The Fourth Reich that formed in Paparua prison in the early 1990s. The group was well known to police.
They are or were a neo-Nazi gang with everything that entails.
Despite only having around a dozen members, it was responsible for several hate-motivated murders.
23-year-old Hutley's naked body was found under the Westport Wharf after a confrontation outside a local hotel last November.
And here he was lured out to the river behind us, and one of them killed him.
Jae Hwan Kim was strangled and buried on the west coast, his body not recovered for 5 years.
Since the 1990s, their influence has diminished greatly, and now if you speak to people in Christchurch, overwhelmingly no one sees a skinhead anymore. The population is that small.
According to corrections, around 3,500 prisoners are thought to belong to gangs, and about 80 of them appear to hold white supremacist views. But Jared Gilbert says the white supremacists of the internet age are a completely different problem than the skinheads of old.
Instead of being thugs hanging out on the street, they are more quasi-intellectual. They try to engage in debates that rationalise their existence or indeed predicaments.
And from a man who helped cripple the Al-Qaeda leadership, a call for countries around the world to face up to a new front in the war on terror: white supremacy.
Then I think Western states need to deal with this. We ignored it for a long time, and now the chickens are coming home to roost.